I think we can all agree that bike thieves are just about the worst people out there, but that doesn't change the fact that they do exist, and they will do this to your bike any chance they get. So let's talk about how to keep your bike safe from theft, especially your very, very highly valued electric bike. So before we break into how to best protect your bike from theft, you guys, I of course have to do a disclaimer so that I don't get doxxed, canceled, sued. So here's my disclaimer. While I would love to guarantee that the methods in this video will 100% keep your bike safe, I can't. There's a way through every lock, and given enough time, thieves will find it. So be smart out there. Okay, let's do this. Alright guys, so let's start off with the most important part of the bike, and that is the bike itself. I would say that this is the part you don't want to get stolen the most, so it needs to be the heftiest lock on these. Cable locks, not appropriate. Do not use a cable lock. Don't do it. Chain locks, I think some of them are kind of okay depending on the rating. I'm not personally a big fan of them because the ones that are actually super secure tend to get extremely heavy and they're hard to mount on your bike anywhere. That's why I would recommend going with either an Avis Bordeaux folding lock. You can get one with an alarm, or I personally use on my bikes the Kryptonite New York lock. Kryptonite also makes some great stuff. The Forget About It lock is fantastic. You want something though that the company rates, I would say, 90% rating, so 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. The reason we like these Avis Border locks for e-bikes specifically is it can get around most of the bike. Typically on a regular bike, you would want to try and get the seat post and also the rear wheel into that U-lock if you're locking up with a U-lock. But on an e-bike, that's typically not possible because it's usually further away. The wheelbase is a little bit longer, so the seat post is further away from that rear wheel, which makes it difficult to lock up both things inside the U-lock. That is where the folding locks really come into handy. They are just as effective as a U-lock, but you can kind of get more of the bike around it. Also, sometimes with if you're just doing it on the down tube or something like that, the down tubes tend to be thicker on e-bikes, especially if you still have like a Bosch power pack. If you are going to put your lock around the down tube, then you definitely want to have something to lock up the rear wheel separately. You can use a cable. I think that's generally okay. Most bike thieves aren't going to cut through like a hefty cable just to get a rear wheel, but I would more highly recommend getting a commuting bike that has a cafe lock. The reason I like the cafe locks, you can carry less stuff. You don't have to have a ton of locks in a bag. It's already attached to the bike and it keeps that rear wheel safe. Plus you can use it if you're gonna have an eye on the bike to, I don't know, run inside, grab a coffee or something real quick. I wonder if that's why it's called a cafe lock. Huh. He's a smart guy. Cool, yeah. AXA Defender is a great one. Also, Avis makes one as well that is really solid, and you can attach these retroactively to most bikes, so check those out for sure. Of course, that is still going to leave your front wheel and, quite honestly, a lot of other parts on your bike still vulnerable. So what do we do about those? Let's talk about some component lockup methods. My absolute favorite system, you guys have probably seen me mention these before if you watch our Life on an e-bike series, is the Pinhead system. They make a series of through axles, quick releases, saddle locks. They make a whole basically bike security system. I really, really enjoy this system. I am not paid by these guys. I just use them personally and have never had any issues getting wheels stolen or anything like that. So that is my highest recommendation. You can get it for any bike. Check out Pinhead. It's a great way to just, again, you're not having to carry any extra cable locks or anything like that. The one thing you do have to always have on you is the special key, just in case you get a flat that is going to lock and unlock the components on your bike. But it's well worth it. Not super cheap of a setup, but I promise you, you will be happy you have it. Alternatively, if you are not a person who wants to spend a ton of money on a system like that, that's going to be a completely closed system that is going to secure your bike, cable locks are the way to go for secondary components. On the front wheel, you should be able to get away with a nice combo cable lock, or you can even just get a regular cable that goes right into the folding lock or the U-lock to lock everything together. Here's the other thing I like about Pinhead. I have had this happen on more than one occasion. I'll lock up my bike completely, the cable lock will be around the front wheel, and in the saddle I'll have a cable lock as well, and still people will steal a seat collar quick release, a wheel quick release. And then guess what? I still am down a quick release and I can't ride my bike home that night. That's $15, $20 to replace that quick release and also an Uber ride home. So think about it. These Pinhead systems and things like that are pretty good ideas. Finally, this is for e-bike specific people. If you have a display that quick releases off of the display mount, just take it with you. There are some systems like the Bosch and Tuvia can lock on there, but there are ways to get that display off. That is an expensive piece that you do not want to have to be replacing on a regular basis. I would recommend if the display comes off easily, just take it along with you. So those are the accessories you can use to keep your bike safe, but let's talk a little bit more about general theory behind locking up your bike. A lot of people have this idea that they want to like kind of hide the bike away and make sure nobody sees it. Here's the thing, it's great if you can successfully hide it away and no one can find it, but once someone does find it, then you've hidden it so well that they're gonna have all the time in the world to just, hang out with your bike, cord it, get it off that lock, cut it up, and then just take your bike home. They're gonna steal your girl, and I don't want them to steal your girl. Bike thieves are Mr. Steal Your Girl, so instead of hiding your bike away, put it out in the open, let people see it, make it be around people. You also wanna make sure that you are locking to a truly immovable object. By truly, I mean this. The best thing that you can lock up to is actually a proper cycle locking system, right? So that cities have set up. What are those called?
You talking about bike rack?
Yeah, is it a bike rack? The best thing that you can lock up to... The best thing that you can lock up to, of course, is a bike rack that are put in by most cities. It's super, super thick. They're totally immovable. No one is going anywhere with any of those. Another thing that's pretty solid to lock up to is a meter. Be conscious of people using these meters, right? Parking meters, they are still used, but it's perfectly acceptable in my opinion to lock up to a meter. Some parking meters even have bike racks attached to them. Signs and poles, stuff like that, so stop signs and all that are generally okay. Just be aware and make sure that it has a bolt inside of it and that you cannot just lift out the pole. There are tons of things you can lock up to out there. A skinny tree, for instance, someone's fence. Those are also very cuttable. I have seen too many instances of people locking up to like a private fence that seem pretty immovable. You would be very surprised to see how easy of a time people have of just removing those poles and running away with your bike. The last thing I would say on this topic is to just be smart. Just don't be dumb. Don't leave your bike out overnight. Don't leave it in areas that you don't feel safe leaving it. I promise you, if you do these things and you live in a major city, something on that bike is not going to be the way that you left it. So of course, there are always new products being developed for bike security. Which leads me to GPS tracking. So GPS tracking is something that we don't have a ton of experience with, and that's because we haven't found kind of a catch-all solution. The reason being, there isn't a good law enforcement solution. Like for instance, something like Tile is excellent, but it relies solely on other Tile users. I've even heard of people who use Tile systems and they actually have the location of their Tile and it's like, hey, it's here, and the cops still don't really act on it because they can't act based on that information alone. So while it does seem like there are some cool GPS locks on Kickstarter and in other places, I can't specifically recommend any yet because I just don't think there is a completely reliable solution. So what should you do if your bike does get stolen? First, I would highly recommend insuring your bike. You can do it through renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or there are companies who specifically offer bike insurance. My bike currently is valued at about $4,000, and it was about $28 a month only to get my bike insured from theft. Well, that might not sound like the cheapest solution in the world if you are using your bike almost daily and you live in a metropolitan area. I think it's probably worth it, especially if you're relying on it as your sole mode of transportation. Other things you can be doing to help recover your bike if it is stolen: track your serial numbers, make sure any distinguishing features on that bike you have locked down, you know them off the top of your head, have pictures of them. And the last thing I would do is just report it immediately. Get a police report filed, have people start looking for it. Make sure you register your bike on bikeindex.com. You could say it's been stolen on there. And yeah, it's a great way to recover that bike. So it really comes down to just doing everything you can to mitigate the situation. So that is how to keep your bike safe from theft, you guys. If you guys have any safety tips, leave them in the comments below and let us know. And we'll feature you. We'll pin your comment for a little while so that other people can know how to keep their bike safe. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel. If you're interested further on starting to commute on an e-bike, check out our series, Life on an E-Bike, and also our top 10 commuting e-bikes. All right, we'll see you guys next time.